The fasten seatbelt light comes on, and every passenger on board a commercial plane buckles up, except for the smallest and most vulnerable flyers. Current FAA regulations allow parents to hold children under the age of 2 in their laps, even as the agency says unexpected turbulence is the leading cause of pediatric injuries on planes.
Many experts agree babies and toddlers are safest flying secured in an approved child restraint system or device, and they say change is long overdue.
Reporter Kristen Crowley brings us the story of one former flight attendant who lived through the worst case scenario.
This wasn't just an emergency, it was the worst crisis.
It's been more than 30 years, but for Jan Brown, it is still hard to relive that day.
Captain Haynes said, "We've lost all hydraulics."
Hearing those words, she says, her whole world changed.
I kept thinking, hopefully we're going to get to Earth in one piece, and I don't know what's going to happen then.
In July 1989, Brown was the lead flight attendant on board United Airlines Flight 232 when it crash-landed in Iowa, spinning down the runway and bursting into flames.
I could hear all that shrieking metal. It was things you've never heard before and you hope you never hear again.
During the plane's final moments in flight, Brown says she was responsible for preparing passengers for impact. She told parents with children seated in their laps to put them on the floor, cushioned with blankets and pillows. She says that was airline procedure.
The minute I said it, I thought, that is the most ludicrous thing I've ever said in my life. I mean, it's like, what, and hope for the best?
More than 100 passengers died, including one lap baby, 22-month-old Evan Chow. Brown says his mother ran into her while she was still searching for her son.
She looked up at me and she said, "You told me to put my baby on the floor, and I did, and he's gone." And just like now, I started getting feeling back, and I thought, I'll live with that for the rest of my life.
In 2003, the Federal Aviation Administration changed its brace position recommendations. During emergency situations, adults are now advised to hold on to children. But many experts say that still puts infants at risk of injury or death.
The most loving mother or father cannot possibly hold on to their child when those G-forces become so great, either in a crash landing or in a severe turbulence incident.
You're going to crush the child, or the child is going to fly off before you can crush him and be injured or killed.
Since that fateful day, Brown, now retired, has been fighting for change.
What's your reaction that all these years after that, parents, people are still allowed to hold their child on their lap when they fly?
It's egregious, number one. The fact that they allow it gives people the assumption that it's safe.
According to a 2019 analysis of in-flight injuries involving children, infants held on laps made up more than a third of the 400 cases reviewed.
Just because they're under the age of 2 and can't speak for themselves doesn't mean that someone shouldn't be speaking up for these children.
Sarah Nelson, head of the nation's largest flight attendants union, has lobbied for support at the federal level, advocating for a seat for every soul.
And we must ensure there's always a safe seat for even our smallest passengers.
The debate over the policy has reached Congress.
Look, I don't think this is the right rule.
We could probably talk about working together, Senator Vance, to talk to the airlines about maybe selling a seat at half price so that families would actually afford to have a separate seat with the car seat for their children.
Nelson says many parents don't understand the risks. In 2021, the National Transportation Safety Board said there is widespread consensus among agencies, including the American Academy of Pediatrics and the CDC, that children are safest properly restrained in their own seat. The FAA, the federal agency with the power to issue a regulation mandating that, declined to speak on camera, but sent us a statement saying the safest place for a child under age 2 is an approved child restraint system or device, not an adult's lap. However, the agency has yet to make a change, adding, "For every rule, the FAA is legally required to show that the benefits of the proposal exceed the cost." And in 2005, the FAA said if parents are required to buy another seat, they may opt to drive instead, which agency analysis showed is a statistically more dangerous way to travel.
That is the most absurd argument that I have ever heard. If you want to go see grandma and it's going to mean another couple $100, you're going to find a way to do that and get a ticket for your child.
But Dr. Chuck DeJohn, former president of the Aerospace Medical Association, says the influence of cost cannot be underestimated.
Parents who have young children are often making this decision on the basis of cost. And they're free to do so. The FAA has not changed the rule, but from a purely safety standpoint, the best choice is to travel with an infant in a child restraint system.
What should the FAA do?
Of course they should mandate that everybody be in a seat. Maybe that might have been the...
Brown says the tragedy she endured will haunt her forever.
That's how I got out.
But she won't rest until she says the friendly skies become friendly for all.
I do this as much for Evan and other lap children as I do it for my flying partners, so they never have to face a mother who's lost her child.
On many international carriers, parents can loosely secure their child with a belly loop belt that wraps around the baby's torso and attaches to the adult seat belt. However, the United States and Canada prohibit this accessory because of its potential injury to an infant's stomach. The FAA has certified a harness-like contraption called the Child Aviation Restraint System, or CARES. CARES is recommended for children weighing 20 to 40 pounds, and it can be used on any window or center seat in the airplane, but not on emergency exit rows.